Many scholars today believe that in the 21st century, the war for Africa isn't being fought with guns. It's being fought with cables, clouds, contracts, and codes. Every day we give away our fingerprints to unlock our phones, our voices to train the AI, our photos, our thoughts, our identities, all poured into platforms we do not own, governed by laws we did not write, stored in servers we may never have seen. And the question is this progress, or is this the newest form of colonization? While we scroll, they extract. While we create, they collect. While we sleep, they surveil. They build the infrastructure, they build the apps, and Africa is just signing the terms and conditions. Today on The Beam, we're peeling back the interface, and we're looking to x-ray the silent power grab, and we're asking the questions that many of those at the top will not ask. Questions like, who really owns our future in the digital world? And are we already too late in the scramble for our digital future? Africa has given gold, Africa has given oil. Now, the question is, are they coming for Africa's data? These and several other questions will be our major focus today on the program. And on that note, let me specially welcome you to The Beam, where curiosity stirs conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I am Soonest Nathaniel, reaching you live from Channels Television's Abuja studios. And joining me right now from London via Zoom is Mr. Isaiah Ogun, a cybersecurity and data loss prevention specialist whose experience cuts across security operations, insider threats, data loss prevention, and holistic cyber defense. Mr. Isaiah, you're welcome to The Beam.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's go right into it. Our first question would begin from the scam economy. And the question is Nigeria's 419 culture, evolving into a national cyber threat?
Well, Nigeria's 419 scam culture is not really a national cyber threat in the sense of, state-sponsored attack. However, it's evolving into a significant and a more pervasive problem with national implications, and some of these implications really will be, economic losses, reputational damage, and of course, in the long run, hinder national development. And it's also worth mentioning that Nigeria and Africa at large, have a serious PR problem, in my point of view. And then this needs to be addressed swiftly, And I'm saying this because according to the Global Global Cyber Crime Index, Nigeria is not the top country perpetrating fraud globally. The world's most famous hacker is not Nigerian, interestingly. The world's top 5 cyber criminals are not Nigerians. The most notorious cyber threats in history were not perpetrated by Nigerians. And you begin to wonder, how come, everywhere you go, when it comes to cyber fraud, you keep hearing, about Nigerians and all of that. The answer is simple. We have a serious, PR problem that we need to address.
Right. I think it's very important we opened with that. That we are not the worst of nation. That's basically what I've heard you say. Now, moving on to theories that concerns Nigeria and Africa. One of those questions that have really bugged us when it comes to the cyberspace is: are the algorithms rigged to have Africans see more sexually suggestive content on social media?
Well, that's a very complex question, really. What I would say is the algorithms are what they are. The algorithms are actually, done in a way that they're meant to push things that you're interested in to your feed, or things that your followers or your friends and family are interested in to your feed. As I speak, there's no publication, there's no research to suggest that assertion that the algorithms are tricked to make Africans alone, see sexually, sexually motivated content.
Yes.
Suggestive content, right? So that's what I would say. There's no evidence to back that up. So it suggests it's very, very subjective. But what I would say is that the algorithms are done in a way that it pushes what you're interested in naturally to your field.
So as of now, we can't say for certain that there is any foul play when it comes to the things that we see in social media wise.
Absolutely.
So it is whatever we're Googling then or whatever we're searching for that we get. Okay, that works then. So perhaps that douses the fear that there's something being rigged against us. And then that brings us, back again to the major discussion, which is who really owns Africa's internet? And is there that silent war for Africa's digital future? That is the core, of why we are discussing, cybersecurity today. Like, is there that silent war for our digital future?
Well, it's a very complex and a very multifaceted question, to be honest. It's not technically about ownership, but control. And I can give you a fair yardstick to determine who controls what, right? In the cyberspace today, the people who control the cyberspace are actually the infrastructure owners. And a very good example of that would be, you have Amazon Web Service for now, you have AWS, you have the Google Cloud, and you have Azure, you have Microsoft Azure. Right. You can have the best of applications. You can develop the best application doing the best things, but you're still going to host them on the platform. And most times, three of these platforms, the AWS, the Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, those are the major platforms out there. And unfortunately, they're owned by the Western world, really. So the question now is, where do we stand, in Africa? I think we also need to start building our own infrastructure, to have a fair share of the market, really. So when it comes to who owns Africa's internet, it's not about ownership or control. And we can also, get to that point where we begin to build, infrastructure, and I look forward to that.
But are we currently playing a role as Africa? Are we really thriving in this space, or is it just what they offer and we just consume? What is the relationship right now?
Well, at the moment, of course, Africans are doing a lot. There's a lot of young people building apps, building some form of platform out there. So we can't completely say that we're not doing it. We're not doing well. Africa is doing well. I know a lot of young guys doing amazing things within the security space, right? And it's always just a matter of time. I would just need government to keep supporting and keep improving that aspect of things, so I'll be able to have a fair share, on the table as well.
All right, let's move to some other concerns when it comes to cybersecurity and the digital space. There are growing concerns everywhere as regards sextortion, as a crime. And then the question is, it doesn't seem to be anything in Nigeria. Is this something we should be concerned about?
Absolutely. Sextortion is a very serious crime. It is a growing threat, targeting minors especially. And it's also a crime that's led a lot of victims, to depression, taking their lives. And as a matter of fact, the FBI has actually seen a very horrific increase, in reports of financial sextortion schemes. And there's a whole lot to be done. Yeah, absolutely. We need to be concerned, even in Nigeria as well. So the government needs to implement strict laws, in terms of curbing these menace, strict laws in terms of privacy, data privacy, because most of all these sextortion come from, people being blackmailed into sending that digital or what's called digital image, or sexually explicit images to without consent, really. And this is where government needs to come in and actually implement strict laws as well. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's a very, very, serious crime and is of concern. I should be taken seriously.
All right. Having you, we're going to be going around, the questions that really bother us when it comes to, the cyberspace. And so one of those extras that just trickles down from sextortion is about, digital gender violence. Is the internet today safer for African women and girls? Are they safer on the internet today?
Well, the internet is not inherently safer for African women, to be honest. And according to Plan International survey in 2020, they found out that over half of young women in 22 countries, including Nigeria as well, had experienced some form of online harassment or abuse in the form of cyber stalking, non-consensual sharing of intimate images, hate speech, deepfake abuse. Right. So yeah, they're not inherently safe, and that's where a lot needs to be done. And a very good example of what needs to be done will be digital literacy and self-education. And of course, government again needs to do a lot in implementing, strict rules and policies to be able to curb this menace as well.
All right, you brought up something which we cannot ignore. We're talking deepfake and artificial intelligence. We know most times what AI would do, but we're not very sure when it comes to deepfakes, the news, and how it affects our daily life today, because it seems like these things are getting better. And so we must ask ourselves, how do we decipher some of these things?
Well, stemming from a very technical point of view, I mean, I do not believe, anything is new. Nothing is new under the sun, really. However, things are coming in new, in different dimensions. And the emergence of AI and deepfake and all of that. And AI and deepfakes are actually bringing a new dimension to it. AI-generated deepfake media is a growing threat, to international security. And, there's a whole lot that we can do to tackle this, really. We need to, bodies, what's called regulations need to implement smart policies, also to tackle this. Public awareness as well, and technology countermeasures need to be put in place to curb this. So it's not really anything new, but it's just an improvement of the existing.
Is there a time when the deepfake can necessarily be deemed harmless? Would there be a time when we can say, oh, it's harmless? It's just maybe some comedy, it's just some play, it's just something funny. Or should we just say, hey, do away with it?
No, we can't really say do away with it, because we have seen instances where deepfakes are used for the right intent, right? I think at the end of the day, it's always about the intent. What's the intent? Is the intent to perpetrate fraud? Is the intent to impersonate someone? Those are the angles we need to look at. If the intent, suggests some illegality and inappropriate use, of course it should be dealt with. But in the sense where it's used for the right reason, for ethical reason, it should be actually welcomed.
Okay, so in your own assessment, what will be the biggest threat we face right now when it comes to cybersecurity? Because that will be where our major extra focus will be when we continue this conversation. But right now, before we go on a break, what do you think is the core thing when it comes to cybersecurity that we are facing, that we should be very conscious about?
Well, from a technical point of view, I mean, phishing emails account for the highest number of cyber threats we have. And that's because all other cyber threats like denial of service, ransomware, malware, they emanate from an email. It takes just one email to be sent to you. It takes you clicking on one simple phishing email to redirect you to a credential harvesting page, and everything goes on from there. So I would say phishing email. So as a public awareness should be done when it comes to phishing email. People should learn to understand. People should understand that they don't need to welcome any email from someone they're not expecting email from. They also need to look at domains where emails are coming from, and to be sure that they're coming from the right, from the right sources. And if the email sounds so good to be true, you're probably, not the one for you. If it sounds very, very juicy and you see that, there's money involved, and someone is telling you you're going to make, 200% return on investment within a month or within a week in an email, and just you should be suspicious of that, especially if you're not expecting it. So yeah, I would say phishing email is one of the top cyber threats out there.
So what leaves people very vulnerable to phishing emails majorly? What in your assessment, in your check, in your research, what makes people very vulnerable?
Well, I would say greed. Yeah, so someone is sending email telling you, you're going to win this, win that within in a period of time that you have not worked for, and it sounds very good to you, and you go ahead and click on something, or you go ahead and put your, bank details or card details into some website that can potentially harvest your credentials. And by credentials, I mean your login details and all of that. And that's it. It goes on from there. So yeah, I would say greed is one of them. Of course, apart from greed, there's also negligence. People know what to do, but they're just negligent. They're not really meticulous enough to read within the lines what every email is saying. And apart from that, ignorance as well is also it's a problem. So when it comes to threats, that so many things account for potential threats. You have people who negligently do the wrong things. You also have people who do the wrong things unknowingly, right? Regardless of what intent it was, is a threat that needs to be dealt with, really. So people need to pay more attention, read between the lines, and be meticulous enough to see any anomaly.
All right. At this time, we're going to be taking a short break, and when we return, we're just going to be answering further questions as regards the new trends when it comes to the hacking world. We're also going to be asking questions as regards activism, and to know if that should be encouraged or not. It's going to be a very interesting one, because I'm sure there are many people who say, hey, Why do you want to stop people from doing activism using hacking? We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, and thanks to those who have stayed tuned, and to those who are just joining us. This is The Beam, and we are still speaking with Mr. Isaiah Ogun, and we're talking cyber threats and the fate of Nigeria and Africa when it comes to the digital future. Mr. Isaiah, let's talk further on the trends. The trends. What are the trends extra when it comes to cybersecurity and the threats, that individuals face within the cyberspace today?
Well, there are a lot of threats out there, really. There are a lot of attacks. We have denial of service. There's more on the technical side of things, but in terms of techniques and tactics, we have phishing. There's called phishing. Phishing is a kind of phishing, but what it entails is basically an attacker sends you an email, right?
Yeah.
And they put there's a barcode in that email where they say you scan to win something, or it could be something to trick you into scanning that. So the moment you scan that on your phone, of course, it redirects you to a page, and that page could potentially be a credential harvesting page. And when you say credential harvesting page, to put it simply, it's just a page, is a web page that actually requests for your login pages, for your login details, and that can trick you. If it sounds very good for you, that can trick you into inserting your login there. And of course, you know what happens after that. It takes you down the line. It takes you to where you don't want to be, really. And also, phishing is still there as well. This is still that different kind of phishing community. You have spear phishing, you have smishing as well. The ones that entails where people sending you malicious text messages that can redirect you to wrong websites, right? Social engineering is still there. Social engineering is basically people trying to find out simple details about you, find out details, about where you work, what you do, the people you know, and they can use all of that, to send you malicious payloads into your email or whichever way they want to send it to you. So yeah, those are one of the recent trends, to be honest.
Yeah. So again, it brings us back to the apps, right? So we usually would have our details in so many of these apps. In fact, the AI apps that are free and everywhere just ask us for our details. Sometimes they're telling you they don't want no money. How vulnerable are we leaving ourselves open by downloading most of these apps? How vulnerable, and what should we do? Like, how do we say, hey, this is the app to go to and this is the one not to go close to? How do we determine that ahead of time?
I think that's a very, very, very serious issue, really. And I think what people need to do really is to ask the question, what is this app doing for me? If it's not any app that is doing anything legitimate for you, you don't need it on your phone, right? You need to limit, the usage of all these apps and the download of all these apps. Of course, the apps that you really need, if you need them, of course, download them, with the, appropriately. And another thing people don't pay attention to is, well, the internet is there. Everyone is vulnerable. But there are little things you can do. For instance, if you open a web page, there's a part where they tell you, do you want to accept cookies and all of that. Mm-hmm. People don't really know all of that. They just click on anything.
Somebody clicks on accept all.
So accept all, and you don't know what you're signing to, and you can't really. How many times do you actually go to a website and read the details of all all the caveat that's there before you go to the website? You don't. So it leaves everyone vulnerable. I think, like I said earlier, we just need to be meticulous with the pages we go to. And of course, there are little things we can do as well on our devices. We can install, the latest antivirus. Make sure that they're up to date. Make sure they are running. That can actually detect real-time, suspicious activities. And on a more technical, on a larger scale for organizations. You can deploy other tools. EDR tools are there. You can deploy SIM tools that can actually monitor everything that happens within your network in a way that when there's any anomaly or any suspicious activity, either outside organization, it detects it real time. And it can also detect, real time zero-day attacks. Zero-day attacks are really attacks that have not been seen before. There's no signature that's been captured for them. So with the use of all of these, AI embedded and machine learning embedded, tools, we can actually detect, suspicious activity real time.
Yeah. Let's go to just the rounding parts. if the West really controls our clouds, and then, like we say, China builds our cables, are we Nigerians truly free? Are we Africans? Are we truly free online? If, these are the guys who build the apps, these ones build the cables, the internet, who really owns it? And are we really free online?
Well, freedom online is subjective, really. It's very hard to say we're not free or anyone is holding us down. But no one is holding us down per se. Of course, there's still a long way to go, and some of these, infrastructure that are used globally are owned by, the bigger brands that are not owned by Africans, unfortunately. So we can't say we are not free. However, what I would say is this: we also need to do better. The opportunities are there for us to explore. But thankfully, we have young guys coming up doing amazing things within the tech space, within the cybersecurity space, and we can also, within a matter of time, we'll be able to compete, on a global scale.
Okay, so you're saying you believe that we are ready to compete somewhere along the line there.
We've begun that process. And it can only get better. That's what I can say.
All right. We can only hope it gets better. And finally, before we let you go, this is that big one, There's so much when the people go maybe against the government, when they feel the government is not doing well, or when people feel organizations are not doing well. And then there are people who say, hey, rather than just protest on the street, there's a different way. I'm a hacker and an activist. And then I want to use hacking to push my activism. So I'm going to do a lot of hacking into people's system and then make them do this and make them do that so that it works for the people, so that there's justice and fairness. They call it digital rebellion or digital protest, And then the question is, should activism, should it be encouraged or discouraged? Because, you want to be very careful because here in Africa, people are facing so much and it feels like anything that comes to help the people is acceptable. So what would you say?
Well, activism is basically the activity of hacking. Now, hacking is a thing. It's not bad. It's neither bad nor good, right? It's a thing, but it can be used for different intent. I think the best way to make it very simple for you. So think about it. If you have a gun, right? A gun is a device, or is an instrument that can be used to kill. The gun kills. However, it can be used for the right reason. So if a policeman holds a gun, he can hold, if he doesn't use it in perpetrate any extrajudicial killings, right? He can use it for the right reason, and that's a gun. However, an armed robber can pick that same gun and go and kill someone, illegally. That's a crime. So that's what hacking is. Hacking is a thing. It's a skill, right? You can use it for the right intent. You can use it for the wrong intent. Within every organization, there are people who are ethical hackers. So what that means is that you can actually hack the system of organization to check out for vulnerabilities. When you see vulnerabilities, of course, you can now patch those vulnerabilities, and that helps to strengthen the cyber defense of the organization. That's exactly what hacking is. In the same vein, a cyber criminal can actually hack, who has that same skill of hacking, can actually hack into systems, and gets money off that organization, illegally. So it's about the intent, right? And activism, why in most cases is deemed to be illegal. There's also the argument where, people think that's helped, to put government in check. It helps to control government excesses or government officials' excesses. Of course, that's an argument. It has also helped to, improve transparency in governance generally.
Yeah.
So it depends on what perspective you want to actually take it from.
All right.
Hacking is a thing. It can be used for the right reason. It can be used for the wrong reason.
All right. That's the most we're going to be taking on this episode of the program. I must thank you, Mr. Isaiah Ogun, for making our time to share your knowledge with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, clearly, the future is no longer something we wait for. It's something being written in real time, in lines across invisible networks, and by hands we may never see. But Africa must begin to write its own future. I am Sunes Nathaniel, and today we're going to be leaving you with our top 5 videos of the week. As always, we encourage you. Stay informed, stay curious, stay active, and keep beaming your light where it matters most. May this nation continue to rise and flourish. Bye for now.
Fifth on our list this week is a clip in which Governor Seyi Makinde speaks on the People's Democratic Party's resolution ahead of the 2027 general elections. In fourth place, a detained minor named Quadri Alabi regains freedom. Coming third on our list is we hear presidential spokesman Daniel Bwala assert that Senator Ali Ndume is joining Atiku and Obi ahead of the 2027 presidential polls. In second place, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, speaks on the state of emergency in Rivers State and the anti-Tinubu coalition.
You see, this weekend, it's like a bulldozer that you must manage or find a way to avoid.
Our most viewed video this week is an interview in which Nigerian music legend Idris Abdulkarim says he only replied Seyi Tinubu with his song and did not attack the president's son.
If he never talked about it, I wouldn't have recorded a song like that. So I am answering him, by, replying him with that video that he made. So if Seyi had kept quiet, I wouldn't have said anything directly to him.
That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.